Yo, what's up, Broncos country? How's it going tonight, guys? Want to get on here tonight, make this video about the new rumors about the draft and a new player possibly coming into the Denver Broncos, maybe tomorrow or sometime this weekend. So here we go. So a lot of rumors have been surfacing and floating around. There's actually been a couple about the draft. One is that people talking about the Broncos, passing on Knicks at 12 and taking, a cornerback, which this to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Granted, yes, I understand Damari Mathis is not the greatest by any stretch of the imagination. He didn't take a step forward last year. He was actually pretty bad, if you ask me. But you still got Riley Moss, who you spent the third round pick on. You got Sertan, who is an all pro corner. And, then you got McMillan in the nickel. I see no reason why to draft a quarter or cornerback at 12. There's absolutely no reasoning behind it. Like, I think the Broncos are going to go quarterback at 12. That's what I think they should do. But even if they don't, corner is not on the top of the list. You still need a pass rusher, defensive line, maybe even offensive line. Like, if the Broncos ain't going to go quarterback at 12, then they should trade back or at 12, take a pass rusher, take an offensive line, take a defensive line guy, something like that. Don't take a corner. That's just silly. So, with that said, the news came out today that Levi Wallace, who was with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year, is going to come to Denver tomorrow and, talk to the Broncos, visit with the Broncos. I'm happy about this. Like, I hope they sign him. That way you can put all the, rumors of the Broncos taking a corner at pick 12 to rest. Because you're not going to, have Patrick Surtain, an all pro corner who you're going to have to pay next year. You bring in another guy as your solid number two, and then you got, McMillan at the nickel, and then you got Mathis and Moss behind them. So I'm fine with signing Levi Wallace. I hope they do sign him tomorrow, honestly. So with that said, there's also been a rumor out there with AFC exec talking about the Broncos. Now, I kind of read this report a little bit. I kind of glanced over it just to, get a brief overview of what the guy was trying to say. And the guy contradicts himself. He's saying the Broncos should trade back at pick 12, don't take a quarterback, but there's no way that Sean Payton's going to go into the season with just Jared Stidham and Ben DiNucci on the roster. And if there's anything we've noticed over the past month and a half since, the new league year started, is that all signs are pointing for the Broncos to draft a quarterback in the draft. If they were going to sign a free agency quarterback, they would have done it already. I mean, look how many quarterbacks got signed, traded for, or picked up in free agency this past offseason in this free agency period. A lot. I mean, Sam Howell got traded, for God's sake. Justin Fields got traded. Kirk Cousins signed with the freaking Atlanta Falcons. Like, literally, the only other quarterback I heard that's still out there that could be available is maybe Ryan Tannehill. But why would you do that? Why would you not take a quarterback? Like, the Broncos are going to take a quarterback this year. And I said this a few days ago. I'm perfectly fine and content with the Broncos trading up. If they think JJ or Drake May, which I don't think Drake May or JJ are worthy of a top 5 pick, in my opinion, I think the Vikings are probably going to try to take one of those guys. And honestly, I think it's going to be like a real reach for them. Like, I wouldn't want the Broncos to do that. Like, if you're going to trade up for Drake May or JJ McCarthy, I'd say if one of them slips to like pick 8 or pick 9, then yeah, go ahead. Trade with the Falcons or trade with the Bears, up 3 spots or up 4 spots to get the guy, but not a top 5 pick. There's no way. I still am sitting firmly on my stance that I think this is not what I want to happen, but this is what I think is going to happen, is that the Broncos are going to stay at pick 12 and they're going to draft Bo Nix. Like, I know, like, usually about this time of year, through pretty much ever since the season ended, every year, there's one guy people are talking about, whether it's a quarterback or any other position. Oh, this guy's going to fit perfectly for this team. And then it shifts to a different player, a different position. Like, oh, never mind. They don't need that guy. They need to go with this guy. They talk about teams like that all throughout the offseason, after the season's over, up to the draft. And honestly, the one thing I could say over this past month and a half is that the Broncos and Bo Nix has been consistent. That whole thing has been consistent for the past month and a half. People talking about Bo Nix perfect for the Broncos, Broncos perfect for Bo Nix. It hasn't changed, and that's where I lean. That's where I think the Broncos are going to go. Now, I know Sean Payton likes to trade up. George Payton wants to trade back and get more picks. But we all know that George Payton's not in control of this team. It's Sean Payton's baby. He's the one making the decisions. And if he wants to trade up for one of those quarterbacks, he's going to do it. If he wants to trade back, he's going to do it. If he wants to stay at pick 12, he's going to do it. Whatever Payton wants, Sean Payton wants, that's what the Broncos are going to do. George Payton has no say in anything. And I know a lot of people are talking about, well, why don't we trade back and get a second-round pick? Here's the thing. With how many teams there are in this, draft that need a quarterback, okay? Granted, there are 6 quarterbacks in this draft that are like top tier, like the top players in the draft, top quarterbacks in the draft this year. You got Caleb Williams, you got Drake May, you got Jaden Daniels, you got J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. You got all these guys. And then, guys that are like I guess you could say, I wouldn't say a huge drop-off, but there's a drop-off between all those guys I just mentioned and like Spencer Rattler, Milton, and who was the other one? I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. But there's a drop-off. So the teams are going to go after the quarterbacks, and I think the Broncos are going to stay at 12, and they're going to take Bo Nix. I do think he fits Sean Payton's system perfectly, but could I see Sean Payton, like, at this point, I think the Broncos are in 2 positions. They got 2 choices that they're going to make. They've already narrowed it down. They're not trading back. I can tell you that much right now. I don't think Sean Payton is going to miss the opportunity to get, like, even if he can't afford, and for some reason he can't get up into the top 10, top 5 to get one of the guys that he wants, like a Drake May or a J.J. McCarthy. Because, they do these, draft meetings all season or all off season after the season ends. I'm sure they got their board set like, okay, JJ's our top guy, then Drake May or Bo Nix or somebody around there. So if they can't get one of those guys, they're going to go with their second guy. And if you trade back from pick 12, there is no guarantee. Even if you trade, like I even saw someone talk about this. If they even trade back to 19 with the Rams, neither one, Penix or Nix, are going to be there. Now, that's not me saying no, 100% they're not going to be there. That's what I'm hearing, is that Nix and Penix are not going to make it down to pick 19 at all. They're going to go somewhere in the middle of the teens, because the Raiders are right behind us, and people are saying they're going to take a QB easily. At pick 13, the Raiders are going to take. So think about it. You're going to have the Bears, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Vikings, the Raiders, and you can even throw in the Giants. Like, I know a lot of people are talking about Daniel Jones and how they're going to give him another year. The Giants are going to take a wide receiver. We don't know that. They could take a quarterback at pick 6. And if they don't, then you still got the Seahawks at like pick 16 or something like that. They could very easily take the last quarterback, one of the top tier quarterbacks, if we trade back to pick 19. I don't think Sean Payton's going to allow that to happen. He's not going to, he's not going to, be like, okay, I'm going to trade back just to gather another second round pick maybe, but I'm going to miss out on one of the quarterbacks I want. He's not going to do that. I think if anything, Sean Payton is going to watch how the first, like I say, 4 picks fall, see who trades back, because we know the Vikings are going to trade up. I think depending on who the Vikings trade up with, if they trade up with the Patriots, then it's going to go probably, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy. Because I think that's who the Vikings are high on, is J.J. That means Drake May is most likely going to fall. And if that's the case, the Cardinals ain't going to take him. They're probably going to take a receiver. The Chargers, of course, they're not going to take a quarterback. They got Justin Herbert. They'll probably get a receiver or a tight end or an offensive lineman. The Giants, now, with all the saying about the Giants that they could possibly take a quarterback, I don't think they do. I think they are going to give Daniel Jones another year, and I believe they're going to get him a weapon, honestly. So then they're going to go by. Then I think it's who is it after that? It's the Titans at pick 7. They're probably going to go offensive line. The Falcons, they got Kirk Cousins. They're not taking a QB. And then the Bears, they're going to be at 9, and they've already taken their QB. So right there at the 8 or 9 mark, if Drake May falls, if Sean Payton thinks he's the guy, I could totally see Sean Payton trading up from pick 12 to pick 8 or 9 to draft to draft Drake May. But that's only if the Patriots trade back with the Vikings. Now, if the Patriots don't trade out and they take a quarterback, then it's going to probably be. This is what I think with the Patriots. It's going to go Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. I think the Patriots are going to reach on Drake May and they're going to take him at 3. And I think that's too high of a draft for him. Excuse me. And of course, after that, the Vikings will trade up with the Cardinals to pick 4, and then they take J.J. McCarthy. Either way, I think the Vikings wind up with J.J. So with that said, if it happens like that, then, then that's more of a reason that the Broncos are going to stay at pick 12 and, take Bo Nix. So it depends on what the Vikings do, honestly. The Vikings trade with the Patriots, and Drake May falls to like 8 or 9. The Broncos will trade up and take it. If the Cardinals trade back with the Vikings, then the Broncos are going to stay at pick 12 and they're going to take Bo Nix. That's how I see the draft playing out. Because that's the only way one of those top 4 quarterbacks is going to fall. Is if the Vikings trade up to 3 with the Patriots. That means the Patriots have no intention, I believe, taking a quarterback this year. Because if the Patriots are, dead set on taking a quarterback, they're not going to trade out of the number 3rd pick. They're not going to do it. They're going to take their quarterback there at pick 3, whether if it's JJ or Drake May. Because I honestly believe at this point in time, the top 2 QBs in this draft are Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. After that, like I said, it depends on what the Vikings do. I think JJ will be the 3rd quarterback if the Vikings trade up with the Patriots. If they don't, if they trade up with the Cardinals instead, then Drake May will be the 3rd pick in the draft. That's the way I see it falling. And like I said, the Patriots trading back, that's the big key. When it gets to pick 3 on draft night, that's when I think we're going to have our answer on where the Broncos are going to stay, if they're going to trade up or stay at pick 12. And I think that's a good indicator on who they're going to take at pick 12. If the Patriots stay at 3, the Broncos stay at 12 and take Bo Nix. If the Patriots trade out with the Minnesota Vikings at pick 3, that means the Patriots are not interested in a quarterback this year. They're interested in building their roster for the future. And that means the Broncos could possibly trade if Drake May starts slipping down to 8 or 9 to where it might cost maybe a 1st round pick this year and maybe a Cortland Sutton or a 3rd round pick this year or a 2nd rounder next year to move up a couple of spots. The Broncos will do it and they'll take Drake May. Drake May. But here's the other thing. The Broncos might not even have to trade up to get Drake May. Unless the Raiders trade up. Because the only reason why I say the Broncos are going to trade up from 12 to 8 or 9 if Drake May falls that far, a lot of people are thinking, because the Patriots are going to take him at pick 12. No. I believe the Patriots trade back. That tells me all I need to know about them and their quarterback position. They're happy with Brissett and Zappe if they trade back to pick 11. A lot of people are going to say, no, they probably, they're like, you only have Broncos trading up in front of the Patriots because you don't want the Patriots to take Drake May at 11. No. What I think will happen at that point is that the Patriots will stay at pick 11 and take whoever. They won't take a quarterback. But what scares me is if Drake May falls to 8 or 9, the Raiders will trade up from 13 up to 8 or 9 and take Drake May. And that's the last thing Broncos country needs, is for the Raiders to get Drake May. Like I said, Drake May, he is slipping in the draft. I don't think his foot works that great. But what if he goes to Vegas and God forbid becomes good? I said this earlier about Bo Nix too. If we are at pick 12, Bo Nix falls, and the draft falls the other way, like I said, the Vikings trade up with the Patriots, and the Vikings trade up with the Cardinals and take J.J. McCarthy, we should stay at pick 12 and take Bo Nix. But if in that scenario, if the Broncos trade back Then right there at 13, you got the Raiders. And what if they take Bo Nix, like I said the other day, and he becomes a superstar? So either way you go, you don't want the Raiders to get either Bo Nix or Drake May, and then God forbid one of those guys turns into a superstar. And then you got Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and one of those other guys I just mentioned in the division, and you still don't have a quarterback. That would be disastrous for the Broncos. It really would, because not only did you not take a quarterback this year, granted, like I said, you're going to stink this year anyway. But not only did you not take a quarterback, that's not the bad thing about it. The bad thing is everybody knows it takes at least 2 years minimum, maybe shorter, maybe a year for it takes usually 2 to 3 years for a quarterback to develop, maybe a little less depending, just like CJ Stroud last year. Then, you're stuck in a rock and a hard place because you got to go into next year's draft. You'll probably have a top 10 pick next year, but then you're still going to draft your quarterback, and you're still going to have to wait at least another year or 2 or 3, depending on that guy and depending on how him and Sean Payton work well together, to develop him. So you're going to be dealing with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and one of those other quarterbacks going into their second year when you have a rookie QB that you're developing. No, that's terrible. The Broncos are not trading back. I mean, if Sean Payton wasn't in charge of this team and it was George Payton, then I would attempt to agree that the Broncos would probably trade back from pick 12 because of the fact they don't have any draft picks, or a whole lot anyway. If George Payton was running the show, I'd say 100% yes, they will trade back. They will stockpile more picks, and they'll probably take a Rattler or a Milton or somebody in the later rounds. But the fact that Sean Payton's running this team and he knows how dire it is to get the quarterback of the future, they're not trading back. They're going to stay at pick 12 and take Bo Nix, or they're going to trade up to 8 or 9 and take Drake May. But once again, that depends on how the board falls. That depends on it. All these scenarios all depend on what the Patriots do at 3. The Patriots stay at 3. The Broncos are going to stay at 12 and take Bo Nix. If they trade out of it back to 11 with the Vikings, then the Drake May's probably going to fall, and the Broncos will probably trade up from 12 to 8 or 9 to snag him. So there's no way the Broncos go into the season, and I am 100% on board with this. There's no way the Broncos go into the season with just Stidham and Ben DiNucci on the roster. If they were going to get another quarterback, knowing that they're at pick 12, like the Broncos have known this since the end of the season. They're at pick 12. They know who the other teams were that were ahead of them. They know the Bears were going to take a quarterback. They know the Commanders were. They knew that the Patriots probably could. The Vikings are looking at it, especially now over the last month since the Vikings made that trade to get pick 23 this year. They know the Vikings are going after a quarterback. That's not even to mention the Giants, if the Giants decide to take a quarterback at 6. So the bottom line is the Broncos are not going to go into the season with just Ben DiNucci and Jarrett Stidham. They are going to get their quarterback. If they were going to sign another quarterback out of free agency, they would have did it already. They weren't going to wait until the close to the draft, and all the quarterbacks are gone. Like they literally, all the quarterbacks that young guys that maybe you could have gave to Sean Payton, he could have worked with, or an older veteran bridge guy that you could have got, they're all gone. Like I said, the only one left is Ryan Tannehill, and I'm not sure on this, but I'm pretty sure you would have to trade for Ryan Tannehill because he's still under contract with the Titans. Peyton's not going to give up assets for another 35-year-old quarterback. He's going to stay at pick 12, and he's going to either take Bo Nix at 12 or he's going to trade up if Drake May falls and take Drake May. Because you know what? As much as I bag on Drake May for his footwork, that's something that can be fixable. That's something that can be coached. Like the talent-wise, like arm strength, being able to read a defense, being able to go through your progressions. Like that kind of stuff you can't teach. Footwork, intangibles, stuff like that, how to move, all that kind of stuff, that can be taught. So I'm 100% on board with bringing in Levi Wallace, bringing another corner as your second corner. You'll have Surtain, Wallace, and you'll have McMillan in the slot. And then go into the draft, get your quarterback. There is no buts. Peyton's going to get his quarterback this year. I know there's a guy on here right now message or commenting saying that the Broncos are not taking a quarterback. Yeah, they will. I will put money on that the Broncos take a quarterback this year in the draft. Now, who that quarterback is, like I think it's going to be Bo Nix at 12, but I could be wrong. But even if they don't take one of the top tier quarterbacks, I guarantee you they'll take a Rattler, a Milton, or one of these other guys in the later rounds. To at least have another quarterback on the roster. That way maybe, if say you draft Rattler or you draft, Milton in the third round, you bring him in, you let him compete for the starting job in training camp with Jarrett Stidham. And if he wins, great. If he doesn't, then you're in the season with Jarrett Stidham. But like I said, they're not going to go into the season with just Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci. They will draft a quarterback this year. Who that quarterback is and where he is, that's a different story. I still firmly believe that the Broncos will stay at pick 12 and they will take Bo Nix at 12. Unless the Patriots trade back with the Vikings, then I could see the Broncos trading up to 8 or 9, to snag Drake May, because he's the only one I think of that's going to fall. Caleb Williams, we know ain't going to fall. He's going number 1 overall. Jayden Daniels, I can almost say with certainty that he's going to go to the Commanders at 2. JJ McCarthy and Drake May are the only 2 I can see falling past, the 5th overall pick, past the Chargers. And the only reason why I don't think it's going to be JJ is because I think the Vikings are going to trade up. They made that trade for the 23rd overall pick with the and got the 11th overall pick already. If they're going to trade up to take quarterback, I'm 100% certain that they're going to take JJ. Now, where do they take JJ at, whether that's 3, 4, or maybe they trade up to 6 with the Giants, that's a completely different story. I don't know. But so that leads to me that Drake May is going to be the only quarterback. If the Patriots trade back, that he's the only quarterback that's going to fall. Out of the top 4 quarterbacks, he will be the one to fall. I believe the Vikings are in love with JJ, and they will trade up to 4 or 3 to get him. And like I said, Jayden Daniels, he's going to be the perfect fit for Washington and Cliff Kingsbury in Washington. And then we know Caleb Williams is going number 1 overall. People say, oh, you don't know that. Yeah, we do. Just like we knew Trevor Lawrence is going to go number 1 overall. Just like we knew Joe Burrow was going to go number 1 overall. We know Caleb Williams is the most talented quarterback. He's a generational talent, even with his off the field, with his dad issues and all that. We know he's going number 1 overall to the Bears. So if JJ goes to the Vikings, like I said, if the Vikings trade up with the Patriots, Drake May is going to fall, and maybe the Broncos, get froggy and they leap and they get up to 8 or 9 and they take Drake May. But if the Vikings trade with the Cardinals, that means the Broncos are going to stay at 12 and they're going to take Bo Nix. So, but I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think the Broncos are going to do? Like I said, I told you before, like I've said this already, the Broncos are going to take a quarterback this year. Who that quarterback is and where it is, that's a completely different story. I personally believe, no matter what I think the Broncos are going to stay at 12, take Bo Nix. But even if I'm wrong on that, I'm not wrong on the fact that they're going to take a quarterback this year. They will. They're not going into the season with Ben DiNucci and Jarrett Stidham. That's just not going to happen. Sean Payton's not going to allow that. The moves that he's made this offseason, yes, you could talk about them taking on $53 million dead cap hit this year for Russell Wilson, which only leaves them like $25 million. But look at some of the moves. They brought in another big body wide receiver in Reynolds to, have another big body guy out there to catch balls outside of Sutton. You still got Marvin Mims. You're probably going to bring in another corner, So, I mean, they're putting pieces out there. They're trying. They're not going to just sit back and lay down. Even if the Broncos have a top 10 pick next year, it's not going to be for lack of trying. They're going to try. Sean Payton's going to try to win. So with that said, why not just take your quarterback this year? Give him a year to develop. I'm sure Sean Payton knows he's going to try, but with the roster he has, he knows he's probably not going to make the playoffs. He's not going to be very, good. He might win the same amount of games as he won this past year. So why not give that year to a rookie to let him grow and learn since we know the Sean Payton offense is really, really, hard and it's very, complex. So we got to give the young guys some time to grow and learn this offense. And what better way to do that than when you know you're not going to be very good this year? You can be competitive. I'm not saying you can't. You can still be competitive and know that you're not going to be very good just because of the talent on your roster. But you can still give that time and that playing time and experience to the young guy to learn and grow. That way in 2025, I've said this before, you're going to have over $100 million in cap space next offseason. Give the young guy a year to learn, whether it's Bo Nix, Drake May, whoever. Give them a year to learn in this system. Go into next offseason. Take that $100 million. You'll have all your draft capital back next year. Go out, sign yourselves some good freaking players in free agency. Put good superstar pieces on this team and go into the draft and draft some guys and compete heavily for the playoffs and maybe even, dare I say, a Super Bowl in 2025. So, but I want to know what your guys' takes are. What do you guys think the Broncos are going to do in the draft this year? Do you guys think they're going to sign Levi Wallace tomorrow or in the next couple of days? Do you think the Broncos trade back? Do you think that the Broncos stay at pick 12 or trade up? Or you like me? You just think if certain things happen, the board falls a certain way, that depends on what the Broncos are going to do. However the board falls in the first couple of picks, that'll tell you what you need to know about the Broncos. So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to get a couple of comments here. What you said the other day, I think, is correct. The next year is 100 cap space. Well, Dak. Yeah, I don't know who this is. All it says is Facebook user, but yeah, they will have 100 million in cap space next year. And maybe Sean does love Dak, but I don't think. Here's the thing. I said this the other day. They're not going to pay Dak Prescott $60 million just after getting out of the Russell. Like, they're still going to be paying Russ next year $32 million in 2025. Great, that's not terrible, but you literally just moved off. Like, Dak is younger, yes, but you just moved off a quarterback that you traded for. Granted, they're not going to trade for Dak Prescott, but you got out. You're getting out from underneath that cap. Why would you give another quarterback $60 million when you could draft a rookie and have him on a rookie deal for the next 4 years? You have that $100 million in cap space next year, and you could build the roster around him. You can front load, rear load contracts. Actually, I'd say front load them. You go into 2025, the rookie still has 3 years left on his rookie deal before you have to pay him. And you freaking go into next offseason, you can front load a bunch of contracts, bring a bunch of good superstars here while the rookie's on his contract. And then you got all your draft picks back. You could draft for the future. And then when the time comes to pay your quarterback a bunch of money, guess what? All those free agents you signed during his rookie contract, they're probably going to be either taking cheaper deals or they're going to be gone, and you'll have that money back. But you're giving the rookie a chance for the next couple of years after we draft him on a rookie deal to put superstars around him and compete. I think that's what Sean Payton's trying to do this year. Honestly, I think he's putting some pieces around right now. He's going to have a young rookie guy. He's going to draft a rookie guy, give him a year to learn. That way next year they got all this cap space, all this cap, and they ain't got to pay a quarterback jack because their quarterback's on a rookie deal, and they can literally put anybody around him and build this team, kind of like what the 49ers did. Get a young quarterback on a rookie deal. You can put superstars around him. Granted, the 49ers, they did it differently. They drafted all their superstars. But Sean Payton, he could draft, superstars around the young guy. Or he could take that $100 million, which I think that's more plausible. If they're going to have $100 million, they're going to use that money to build around the young guy. You can pay guys. Like, they paid Nick Bosa, the 49ers. Granted, they drafted him. They paid Deebo Samuel. They paid a lot of these guys. They paid CMC. They traded for CMC and paid him. Like, they put the pieces around Brock Purdy because they had the money to do it because he's on a rookie contract. That's how you do it. That's how you, there's a couple ways to win in this league. One is have a young quarterback on a rookie deal, put a superstar roster around him. Two, once your quarterback starts getting older, you got to, you'll have to pay your quarterback, just like the Chiefs right now. They have to pay their quarterback, but they go out and they draft well and they put young, talented pieces around him and then they win. That's the ways you could do it. Or, you know, you go this route. You go, the guy's older, like a Kirk Cousins or a Tom Brady was, or, who was the other one? Matt Stafford. You don't give them like a market breaking deal. You just give them a deal like, 35 million right now a year, and you can still put pieces around them because your, quarterback's not costing you that much. Or they take a pay cut like Tom Brady did, which, and Patrick Mahomes kind of does the same thing. So that's what I think they need to do. They need to draft their young guy. They'll have that money next year instead of giving $60 million to Dak. Take that money, put superstars around this kid on offense and defense, and you got 4 years. Well, if you count this year, if they can do it, 4 years on his rookie deal, most likely 3, with superstars all around him starting in 2025 to go win a Super Bowl. And then by the time, like I said, you can front load those contracts for those superstars. So by the time the young kid, the quarterback, his contract is ready for him to get paid, all those guys that you paid all that money to are gone, or they're taking cheaper deals or whatever, or their contracts are, they were front loaded. So on the rear, they're not making as much, but they're still good players. And then you can pay your, franchise quarterback. So that's what I think the Broncos are going to do. But once again, like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comments, what the Broncos are going to do in the draft. Like I said, they're going to go quarterback, personally, in my eyes. At pick 12, they're going to take Bo Nix. He fits perfectly with Sean Payton's system. Like I said, unless the Patriots trade back, the Drake May falls, that means the Broncos might go up and get him. I think they will. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe on this video, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.